What's up, everyone? This is Sapphire, joined by Dell, hopefully bringing you an exciting replay. Now we've got Dippa spawning as the blue Terran, and his opponent is Renson spawning as the red Protoss. Now this is on Desert Oasis, which you don't see too much because a lot of players thumb down this map, so it will be interesting to see a skirmish on this map that we don't see too often. Now Dell, what can you tell us about these two players?
Well, I do know quite a bit about Dippa. He was a Counter Strike 1.6 player for 7 years and moved on to Call of Duty. He also writes articles for PC Power Play about esports, so he's no stranger to esports. And Renson, I believe he's a top Malaysian player. Not too much else about him, though I do know he favors Colossus. I haven't seen too many of his games, at least not PVTs.
Yeah, interesting thing about Renson is he completely shot up the charts in the C overall rankings, which is basically one of the amalgamation sites that get all the diamond leagues and put them together and index them. It's basically purely based on statistics. So don't read too much into it. It's not like, oh, that player is the best. But Renson really shot out of nowhere. During that period where Nirvana and Glade had a complete lock on number 1 and number 2, Renson came up at the same time Red Archon did and really shot up to the top there and really put pressure on those guys to hold the spot. And now with the Blizzard Southeast Asia server invitational coming along very, very soon, all these players are really trying to get right up the top so they can get an invite to that, because that tournament is going to be pretty amazing, especially considering there's a trip to America and entry into the BlizzCon tournament all involved in that. So all the top players are really heavily trying to get towards that at the moment. So interesting to find out this skirmish. We see a little bit of probe flirtation going on from Renson, just picking up that information, and this curious positioning from Dippa, throwing down that forward barracks here so he can wall off that choke outside his natural, as well as the supply depot on his cliff there so he can get that extra vision of units walking up. So I like this positioning from Dippa, although he is very, very open from a Zergling run by on the left because his ramp is basically exposed. So very aggressive opening here, and we do see Renson throwing a pylon to block the wall in there and just mess with Dippa there. I like that. It's going to prevent the tech lab. He'll have to lift off if he wants to throw a tech lab down. So I like this by Renson. Curious to find out if he's going to keep it up. And another pylon going down. This is really, really obnoxious and really annoying for Dippa to deal with.
Yeah, I really like that play. I was a bit skeptical at first. I thought, he's going to cancel it and Dippa won't really lose any time because he was getting that Marine first. But this second pylon really helped. I was going to say I like this barracks placement, but now with this harassment, it hasn't really helped it because his Marine was walled off on the bottom side. But however, at the start, it would have confused Renson a little bit. He thinks, is he cheesing me? Where's this barracks going? So it backfired a little bit, but I like the thought process.
Yeah, and now going into Supply Depot, not interested in Tech Lab whatsoever, and getting this really early expansion, which was possibly delayed a little bit by that pylon harassment, so he may have slowed him up just a little bit there, while Dippa's got this SCV scouting at Renson's natural, making sure he doesn't transition into a reasonably fast expansion on his own. Seeing this Stalker coming out now, which is probably going to push out and deny this SCV, which is trying to get in this space. It's going to be important that Renson does not give any information away to Dippa, who's almost going to try and get in, but looks like this SCV is going to go down. So that's a good deny there. Good chrono boost going off on that Stalker just to get it out there. Still no tech buildings down for Renson as he puts a pylon at the northern side of his base just to get more information. And these cliffs are one of the interesting points of Desert Oasis, because all maps have cliffs, but basically you're on a little island and there's cliffs all around you, and there's this really obnoxious peninsula behind your minerals. Both sides have them, and from a Terran point of view, you can use this by putting siege tanks and even some bunkers in front of it and shell the mineral line. Deny those assimilators, and even if you get right to the edge there, you can hit the nexus. So it can be really, really tough to deal with. But by the same token, this is a nice jumpable gap for Stalkers with Blink. So both players can really abuse this peninsula. There's so much abusable terrain in Desert Oasis. A lot of players don't like it, considering the short air distance and so much abusable terrain. But interesting to find out what both players are going to do, especially considering it's one base now for Renson, who does put down that fast robotics bay, really trying to get his robotics facility, really trying to get his Robotech up really quickly, although he's got to be careful because that scan goes off for Killua right now. He's just going to pick that up, and this economically, he's really starting to pull ahead now. 960 over 700, even though he's behind by 3 harvesters. He's got that mule advantage, and if he doesn't do, if Renson doesn't do too much economic damage or some kind of attack to slow this down, he's really going to start to fall behind in the macro game.
Yeah, lots of Marines and barracks coming down for Dipper at the moment. So Renson does have to be careful with this early aggression because he probably doesn't know the unit count of Dipper right now. He could have more than he expected. And in fact, he doesn't even know that he's fast expanded. So, he's really in the blind about this. And I think this harassment here might be a little bit risky, though we don't know. It could be standard on this map. We never get to see games here.
Yeah, we are seeing these Stalkers running into a wall of Marines, and Renson realizing his error, and he's just legging it across the map. These Marines are with their really decent fire rate against Stalkers are going to be a big problem to deal with in this cluster. So this is bad news for Renson. His kind of game plan there is a little bit skewed, although he's getting 2 observers out now, really trying to get that information, and I'm feeling like now that he's throwing that expansion, he's transitioning to more of a macro build, but he's just a little bit behind here. I feel this is a little bit of an error from Renson that he's really going to have to make up with. He opened with a somewhat aggressive game plan, was expecting Reapers, threw down that pylon to try and slow that down, but he should have predicted fast expansion with that barracks positioning, and now that he's gone out with Stalkers and run into this bio build, he's in big trouble because he hasn't slowed Dipper down whatsoever. So I'm interested to find out what Renson's going to do to try and play himself back into this game, because he's going to need to come up with something.
Yeah, definitely. As we see, Dipper puts down more gas. He's getting ready to pump out a lot of Marauders here. He's going to have a very sizable army very soon. I think Renson may get away with this expansion just because the travel distance on this map is so huge, but he does have the Observer out now. He's going to know exactly what Dipper's up to, and that can only help him. I like the use of a sensor tower by Dipper here because it covers that peninsula you were talking about where you're under threat from Blink Stalkers. So it's got good coverage, and it's around his this blind side. He's got the right side covered with this sort of mini wall, but it does cover his left flank there.
Yeah, second sensor tower going down is really nice. He's going to get all that information. So these Stalker harassment that Renson's been sending are basically being shut down, and now even more so if he tries to do that. He is still sticking with these gateway units, pumping out a bunch of Stalker Sentry Zealot, another scan. Dipper's been perfect with these scan timings, picking up that unit composition, seeing the expansion, seeing exactly how saturated it is. Really great timing from Dipper there, while he's got he's turned it up a little bit, throwing down the missile turret at his